I don't, like, depending on work. Like today or this week was a really busy week, and for work. And fortunately, actually, I had started this kind of earlier than a lot of times I do, so I was able to get some stuff going. Oh, well, we're live. I see some people joining in already. We're gonna wait a couple minutes before we really get going into everything. I'll share my screen as well. Also, I always forget to do this until I actually go live, which I guess I should anyway. I'll send out a blast on Luma saying that we're live. But as people are joining in, say hello. Give me 1 second here. Just send blast. Say we're live. And join on YouTube. We're streaming in a couple places too, so you might be watching on LinkedIn. I'm also trying, I actually don't know if it went live. I should double check. I tried doing it on Twitter today, or X, just to see. I don't know what happens. I don't have that many followers there or anything either, but just want to kind of see how it goes.
Not yet. After this first time.
Yeah, it'll go viral.
100,000.
Cool. Okay, we'll wait a minute. I see people are trickling in. It just turned 12 now, which is the start time. I just like to go live a minute early, so we're here as people join in. So welcome everybody, and I'll go through the quick spiel of what this event is and stuff like that in a minute. But you probably saw, like, this week's topic is open source image generation. Most of them are, actually all of them are diffusion models that I was using this week. And I'll probably mention this again as people join in, but kind of the goal of this is, it's almost every week. There's been a lot of holidays and stuff in the summer and some summer things, so it hasn't been every single Friday, but most Fridays we pick a topic, which a lot of those topics have come from people in the stream, the community. And then we try to spend a little bit of time that week building something or learning about that topic, and then discussing it on Fridays when we do the stream. So I'll probably share this again, but there's also a Slack channel that if you want to join and kind of discuss things during the week, not during the Friday stream, or ask for resources or share resources that you found, you should join the Flight group. Flight's a open source orchestration AI runtime platform that we maintain at Union. We're just using that group, and there's a AI and ML channel in there that we discuss, like, the projects in. So a shout out to join that if you want to kind of asynchronously discuss stuff during the week. And then we have some upcoming topics. Let me share this GitHub repo as well. So if you want to see the previous topics, the upcoming topics, the code that I built is all in here. Some of the code from other people is too, is in here as well, if they merge it in or push it in. And sometimes they're in other repos, so you can, again, share your own projects in the Slack. And I'll go through the upcoming ones, but I'll just kind of recap. I've done a lot. I won't recap every single one, but we kind of started last month doing a little bit of a theme, or the last couple months. Like, we did a lot of agent memory stuff in May, and then we kind of did MLOps stuff that kind of tacked on to that in June, like talking about evals for RAG and memory, and then we used, like, Arise Phoenix for LM observability, and then we did ML Flow, which has a lot of cool new features if you haven't looked at ML Flow recently, around like artifact management and experiment tracing as well. And then we're now kind of in this semi-phase, or a new semi-phase, or whatever you want to call it, where we're doing open source generation type of stuff. And I will just say too, if you want to bring models that aren't open source and compare them in the stream or in the chat, that's totally fine. But the ones I'm working on are, like, looking at open source models, and I kind of want to see how they're working, and maybe compare them to commercial models. But I'm focusing on trying out open source ones. So this week was open source image generation. So I used several different diffusion models. We'll actually go through and look at comparisons here in a minute across several of them. I didn't get to try every single model that I thought was interesting, but we'll do some comparisons and see which ones are good at certain things, which ones are not. And then next week, we're going to do open source video generation models, which I'm really excited for. So if anyone has, like, models that you want to test out, let me know too. and you should test them as well. But I can put them on a list and try them out as well. And then we're going to do open source text to speech, and then open source music generation. And then I kind of want to try to put them all together and build a video of like what's kind of potentially the state of the art open source stuff that you can combine together and create something like a TV commercial or something like that. That just combines all these elements. I think would be kind of fun to do. And then it might be fun to like revisit that stuff every quarter or something to see the progression. And then we're going to go to reinforcement learning. This has come up a lot from the community as well, which, by the way, you can keep the discussion in the chat. I see a lot of people have joined in here. So if you talk in the chat, I will do the best I can to like bring that conversation into the stream here. But if you also want to get on the stream, I'll probably share this again too. But if you want to come on the actual video stream or just discuss with audio, like if you don't want to turn on your camera, you can message me on LinkedIn. You can also just follow me there if you want to see more of the events. But I'll keep an eye out for messages, and then I can send you an invite link to the stream if you want to kind of discuss the stuff that we're talking about. But then we're going to go after the generation stuff into kind of this RL space for physical AI environments. So MujoCo is a really popular one to get started with that. And then NVIDIA has one called Isaac Sim, which I'm really excited to check out. It's a little bit more advanced. And then the cool thing about this is it all builds up to, we're doing this generation models, and then environment simulation. And then we're going to go check out what's kind of the latest in like open source world models right now. So it's kind of a build up to this world model stuff, which I'm really excited about. I think it's going to be a really fun thing to go from like image gen, physical environment stuff, and then trying out some of the latest world models, which I haven't yet, in some of those physical environment simulations. So just kind of give you a little bit of the roadmap right now. And then also I want to hear what are the topics that you want to do. So that's where a lot of these come from, is the people in the chat and community here saying the stuff that they're interested in. So let me just ask right now for everyone already here. I can see over 20 people just on YouTube right now. Let me know like what topics do you think are interesting next that you want to dive into. So a lot of these ideas came from discussing with the community here. So let me know. Chat's quieter than usual so far. So I'm like, is chat working? Is it not? I do see Neil's waved in there, so seems like it should be working. Let me just double check on the actual YouTube stream, because sometimes there's like an issue with StreamYard and chat doesn't come over or something like that. So if you are talking in there and I don't see it, potentially there's an issue. So I'll see. Okay. Daniel said it's working. Great. Thank you. Everyone's just quiet today. Maybe it was a busy week and everyone just wants to watch, which is totally fine too. Sorry. So getting into today's topic, which again is the open source image generation with like diffusion models. And then I also want to do a little bit of fine tuning. So I trained a couple LoRA adapters on a diffusion model to see how those results would look. All right. People are talking in the chat now. I see emojis. People are saying hi. Awesome. It's more fun if you talk on the chat, I think, for everybody. So again, if you have topics that you want to add to kind of upcoming streams, again, the idea is that this hopefully is kind of a little bit of maybe a forcing function. If there's like a topic that you want to play around with, to put aside a little bit of time that week. Again, it could just be like an hour of you vibe coding or something like that and getting started with it, but it really helps to like break down that barrier in getting started with that topic. So if you have any, let me know and we can kind of add them to the list like we've been doing. So I'm going to click into this. If you click code into these topics, that's going to bring you to kind of this subfolder. And then I have one that is image gen on flight. So I'll post the link directly here too. There's a lot kind of in the README that we've kind of put in there of what is actually going on here. But I'm guessing that most people want to see some of the comparisons for these open source diffusion models, which I was saying I have kind of a whole list here. But before I go down this list, we can actually generate some live, I think, as we're going here. Some of the models take a little bit to generate. So what are like 3 prompts that we should give maybe a few of these models? I want to let the chat decide, or John, you as well. What are 3 prompts, and we can have the images being generated while we're going through kind of the talk here.
So the checkboxes are the prompts?
The checkboxes are the models here. So
Oh,
I'll
the
do ones that
models.
I already know that I have
Oh.
downloaded. So it hopefully won't take a ton of time. Fun side note, actually, while people are thinking of prompts, I had like a legacy like Comcast plan that had like a data cap. And as I was downloading all these models, it blew through it. So these models could be pretty large. And like I had some fail halfway and then like had to re-download them.
So those are the diffusion models then.
Yeah, so these are ones. I have this little Gradio app. Again, all the code is in the GitHub, and we can go through some of it too. But this is a Gradio app that's going to kick off a flight run here. And this, you can see, these are all the models that I checked for this run. And then I get an image. Oh, no. Hopefully that'll reload. Okay. I get an image from each of these models based on the prompt that I have it. And then this is nice because it's all version too. So like if you're doing prompting or trying different seeds, that's all logged here in flight. And then I can go into specific ones too and just see what that exact model did. But there's a whole bunch here that I kind of put into test limitations, and we'll go through that here in a little bit. But like seeing what the different materials look like, can they understand how to arrange objects that I ask? Can they count things? Can they generate text? And we'll be looking at these in kind of breaking down which open source models are better at certain tasks here. And I didn't try everyone. Like there's 2 models that I didn't try that I want to get around to. One is Flux 2, looks really good, and Crea 2, which Crea 2 just came out, I think 2 weeks ago.
So you actually put the camera, the lens type, and the bokeh.
You can, yeah. Or you can just like, action shot or whatever. So,
yeah.
Right.
That's cool.
I don't see a ton of people in the chat talking about it, but John, do you have any ideas for prompts here?
The top of mind for me is something World Cup related, but that may not be.
USA winning the World Cup?
No. That's not going to work out there.
It'll be like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'll try Seattle during the World Cup and just see what happens.
Oh, no. This is going to be risky.
I mean, you should give it more like details, probably like, it's a crowd or watch party. I'll say FIFA watch party in Seattle during the World Cup. Let's see what happens. That'll be one. Yeah. We can put another prompt down. I won't give it any specific styles. Another one.
Does it have to be related to the first prompt, or is it?
No, these are just new lines is a whole separate prompt here. So then it'll just
keep it sports theme. So the MLB All-Star game is coming up, right? So let's see, game winning home run, large crowd.
Home run, large crowd. Any style.
Let's see, indoors.
Indoors.
Yeah.
Okay. And then chat, anyone? No one's said anything in there. So we don't have any input there. I'll do a larger Quinn one too. All right. So this might take a little bit to run for some of these bigger models. I'll do Chrome HDS, some good ones. All right. One more.
And then let's see, Super Bowl victory party in Seattle.
Very sports
theme.
But no one else is giving us ideas, so thank you. Super Bowl victory. If I could spell party Seattle.
So we're predetermining our future.
We're gonna do it again, right? All right. Yeah. So I'm just gonna kick this off. And then this is now going to be running here. So you can see I already have these models downloaded. If they weren't, it would start this download task, but they're all cached here in flight. And then Santa Sprint is already running. Santa Sprint is actually a really, really fast one. So this will probably be done in just a couple minutes from loading it in and 3 images. So we can come back and check on this in a little bit. But these are going to run sequentially because I'm running this just on a single GPU. This is using DGX Spark. So I'm using basically Hugging Face here. All these are open source models on Hugging Face. And then I'm running Flight DevBox, which gives us this like UI and versioning and it does give us like compute orchestration. If I had multiple GPUs, I could orchestrate and like fan these out to be generating, you know, multiple models at once. But I just have one DGX Spark right now. So this is just going to be generating sequentially here. So while that's going, I can break down the models that I tried, if everyone is cool with that. So this is kind of my project that I did this week. And like I said, then I did LoRA, so adding specific styles into it as well, where LoRA is like the low rank adaptation matrices that you can add on, and you can train pretty efficiently on, like, if you have a smaller GPU, even you'd probably be able to do this for a lot of these models. So you just update weights in these smaller matrices instead of the entire model, and then you can get specific styles or types of things that maybe the models weren't originally trained on, and then you can generate pretty good results with them. Somebody asked in the chat, do the models allow to use known people or they have guardrails? I haven't tried that a ton. Like, maybe actually we should try that. After this run, let's try generating a celebrity or something like that. So a lot of the so I haven't tried it with these ones. I know sometimes chatbots have the guardrails. I don't know how that works with the image generation ones here. And I think a lot of them, as far as I know, don't have a ton of guardrails here. And then also the ones that are open source under like a Apache 2, like you can fine tune on basically whatever you want. Sometimes if you go look at the ones in Hugging Face, they will have terms for gated models that you have to accept. You know, saying you're not going to do certain things with it, right? But I don't know how much actual guardrails are in all these. Some of them I doubt have a ton of them. Some of them I think just don't have the existing data or images in them, so they might purposely pull out like celebrities or things like that, so it doesn't generate images on it. So I think it depends on the training data here, but we can test that out. All right, so I'll go through again. I just came up with like a series of prompts here to see which ones would work good, or like what these image open source models would generate from them. And you can see all these different styles. Also, I can click in. So if you see one that you want more details on in the chat, like let me know if there's one that you want me to click on or something like that you want a bigger image here. So here I have FluxOne Schnell, Stable Diffusion, their SDXL one, Quen Image, Santa Sprint. Santa Sprint is a really, really fast one. You can actually see down here I log how many seconds it took to generate that image as well. So some of them take like more steps in between. So all these are diffusion models. So they start with like noise and then they denoise the image, and that's usually the amount of steps in there. So Santa Sprint is like a really, really fast paced model. Sometimes the image looks really good, but you'll notice like when we get to more complex scenes, these don't look as good. Sometimes like generating hands and stuff, Santa Sprint doesn't do it. Someone asked, how do I run these models? So these are in a flight workflow, which is, you can kind of see what this workflow looks like. I download the model if it doesn't exist, and then I generate them. And I just do this all in Python here. It's like Flight just has a Python SDK. You give it a config, like if you have multiple GPUs available in your cluster, you could do that. In this case, I'm just running Flight dev box on a DGX Spark. So let me pull up the docs real quick and I'll just share that. And we can go into that more later if you want. I'm using, if you go to run modes, set up dev box, you can run this on, this is open source, you can just run this on any computer. If you want to do things like image generation and use a GPU with dev box, you need some sort of NVIDIA, or sorry, not NVIDIA, but you need an accelerator that isn't like the M2 Max, because there isn't like a Docker version that integrates with the Mac accelerator hardware yet for like GPUs. But you bring up a good point. So I did not use Comfy UI. I know a lot of people use it. Has anyone in the chat used Comfy UI? Like, it's a very common tool that people use to build workflows. And I believe it's open source too. I haven't run it. I was thinking about trying to run it as a app inside Flight, because you can run applications like this. Gradio app is also hosted inside Flight, just using the same Python SDK. And then it kicks off a Flight run like we saw. So now this is generating the image. You can actually see the Santa Sprint is already done, because this is the fast one. this isn't indoors, but we can see getting some image results, and then FlexNel is already done, so we get the images in there. As they generate, they start populating in this report too, so I can go check it out as images are popping in, which is pretty cool. This one actually is looking pretty good. That looks like our team, unlike the Santa Sprint, I think had looked more like the 49ers there. So then this is how I'm running them. So, and every, like, you get this batch, or you get this prompt, and it loads that model in, and then it will go through all the different prompts that we gave it, so it doesn't have to load in that model more than once. Then it'll kind of kill that container, which contained the model, which frees up the GPU for the next task, and then it will load in those prompts there, and then do the image generation. If that makes sense. Hopefully that answers kind of your question. And again, if you weren't here, the code is in here. And they said, are all those models text to image? They are, yes. And then next week we're going to do text to video. So these are all text to images. So they all take this prompt. So for example, this one is a hedgehog knight and handsome acorn armor guarding a glowing blue mushroom, misty forest floor at dawn, cinematic macro golden rim light. So these are, this is kind of a made up scene, and depending on the art style you're going for, all these could be pretty good. Like this SDXL one looks more like clay animation or something, but maybe that's what you're looking for. Still like pretty cool result here. So then the next prompt, I kind of want to see which ones could do a good job of writing. This is a common problem. Like a lot of models, at least historically, haven't been able to write text very good. As you can see, they're getting a lot better just in these, even some of the smaller open source ones now. So the Flex one does it. This looks very AI, but you do get, like, today pumpkin latte is $5. That's what we asked it to say in the sign. SDXL, it does look like a kind of like a sign here, but this text doesn't make sense. Almost got pumpkin latte, but a little bit weird. And Quinn image, the older Quinn image one, again, this is kind of weird. You can kind of see it's trying there. It has 5. It says today, maybe pumpkin latte is trying to get there. And then Santa Sprint, not quite there. Quinn image, this 2512 one is one of my favorite models out of the ones that I was testing here. This does a really good job a lot of the times, and this did a good job here. It has the text and it doesn't look very AI generated. Like, this looks like pretty realistic. And then Z image turbo, this does the text good, but it doesn't look as realistic. But Z image turbo and Quinn image 2512 have kind of been my favorites for the realistic generation out of the ones that I tried this week. Again, there's other ones. Flux 2 and Korea 2 look really good. I just didn't get a chance to put them in my lineup here, but I might rerun this later and check them out. And then I want to do a close-up of hands, because you know that hands are often really hard for AI as well. Sometimes it shows the hand kind of barely in there, even though we asked it to. Quinn image did really weird stuff here. Santa Sprint doesn't do a ton of
that looks like 4 hands.
yeah, with 2 fingers each. Like, it looks kind of weird. Quinn image, decent. Kind of, this one looks pretty good, maybe almost too clean, but yeah, kind of a fun test to see, like, hands. This one went with like an artistic style, and the hand looks really weird up there too. Someone asked, do you know about the input used by these models used for initial training? Do they scrub all of YouTube? Probably every one of these. I don't know how much they share, which data is in all of them. I think some of them do share their data sets, or at least say where they got their data. I'd have to look up each one of these. I didn't take the time to do the whole like deep dive into model research for each one of these, but you could do that. So again, these are all listed here. A lot of them will have papers too, like Santa Sprint, for instance, like has a whole paper from NVIDIA. Oh, also note, these are all open source, but they have different licenses. So it doesn't mean you can always use them for like commercial use. Like the Santa Sprint one from NVIDIA is open, but you can't use it for commercial use. I tried to pull in their licenses here, but again, before you actually use it for anything, you should go double check the repo for these. But all these are like open source on Hugging Face. But again, you should check the licenses of like what you can actually use them for if you're planning to do that. Next, I wanted to kind of get a different style of like, trying out this translucent glass hummingbird on a neon sign and seeing like if it can generate glass type of stuff. This kind of looks cool, but doesn't really look like glass. The Quinn image one does a pretty cool job of generating them. Those image turbo is kind of simple here. And then again, Chroma one kind of went more with an art style. So yeah, I'm just basically trying all these different scenarios and like like hands, things that we know they struggle with, like counting objects, like we'll see some different materials and stuff like that, and kind of getting an idea of where these models might lie. So this is kind of this is like a woman laughing while hailing a taxi on a busy New York sidewalk, golden hour candid street photography. And some of them will look pretty good, actually. Even this like Flexnell one looks pretty good. Some of them are good, but a little off. Like this mouth area seems kind of off on this person. If you click into this one, their face is definitely really weird here.
Well, the hand in the last one too. You can see her right hand is.
Oh yeah. Hands are always a really good tell, right? So when you're wondering if something's AI, it's definitely a good thing to look at. Quinn image, I think, does a really good job here. Here, even just the normal Quinn image, and then the Quinn image 5212, I think, does a really good job. Like their hands even look very good. Like you wouldn't be able to tell from looking at that. The image turbo does a good job here, I think, too. And then these are a little kind of blurry, some styles in there. You'd think maybe this is just taken with like a weird camera or something like that. And then this is like a portrait up close to someone, and I wanted to add freckles on their face because, again, it's interesting. Like they might generate a person, and then like let me just throw a pattern on them, and it doesn't look quite realistic. So it's interesting to see. And again, some look kind of very AI, some are much more realistic. The Quinn image one, again, looks really good for like, I think, human generation type of stuff. The Quinn image 2512 does a really good job, and the turbo often does a pretty decent job too. And then trying out a man skateboarding through a sunlit city plaza motion blur. So trying to get like, this is an action shot going on. Some of them are super blurry, which sometimes your camera shots might actually look like that. And then some, again, look really good here too.
So you had to demo these first in all your examples, and then ask us what our prompt should be. Because now, I'm creative.
Well, we can go back to, because I think the other one will be done pretty soon. We can try some more creative prompts. So we're happy to do that.
No, I'm joking.
Well, maybe this will wake up the chat more, because people are talking a little bit more now and there.
This is really good though. I like it. I like what you've done.
And somebody asked, is Flight is our product? Flight is our open source, so you can check out Union AI with like a commercial offering too. Flight is our open source AI runtime AI orchestration tool that's very widely used in the AI space for like training pipelines and agents. So check it out. Like if you think this is cool, like this is in a better report inside Flight. I use reports all the time for like versioning my experimentation, but also seeing results like this. And even like I've done like Mutual Co for physical AI, like rollouts, and like being able to scale those out is really nice in there. And then actually I'll embed frames of the rollout of the actual physical AI simulation directly in a report like this, because even if you get a high reward, you want to look at like what's actually happening in the RL space. And it's just really nice to have it like in a report here. And then this is trying to test. So I say exactly 3 red apples and 1 green pear in a row on a wooden table, a studio light. So trying to get like, again, can understand how to count things correctly and put them in the right place. And so it's interesting because some have like 3 apples or 3 shapes that are red. This actually looks like a pear, not an apple. This one looks kind of weird. I'm going to put the pear in front. This Quinn image one counted everything right, but I don't know what it's doing. This looks like a really old oil painting or something like that.
Quinn's first failure.
Again, the Quinn image is their older one, and then they have that newer Quinn one, which does a really good job.
Yeah.
So they've definitely progressed. No shade on Quinn there. But in this Santa Sprint one actually looks really good, and this again generates really fast. It got the 3 apples, pears kind of maybe not in the right place we asked it, but this did a good job of counting. Quinn image looks very realistic, but it didn't count the things right. So again, kind of and then these ones all do the same thing. They count to 3, but they don't show 3 red apples. They show 3 things, and one of them's like a pear or a green thing, which is kind of fun. Somebody asked, how much does it cost to generate these images? Could you comment on the hardware needed for hobbyists to get into image generation? So for me, I'm using a DGX Spark, so I didn't have any extra costs besides whatever technically my electricity is, and my internet connection, I guess, for downloading the models. Not that I was paying for per byte for the model or anything like that. And a lot of these I'd have to look up. So some of the bigger ones, you might need a GPU with bigger memory, but I think quite a few of these you can actually run on maybe consumer grade, like so the DGX Spark has 128 gigabytes of unified RAM, so you can load in kind of larger models than like RTX or like normal RTXs that you might buy for gaming. And I don't know the exact size of all of these. So for example, this Quinn image one and Turbo, I think, are quite a bit larger than some of these other ones. So you could definitely run some of these models on a consumer GPU. Some of them you might have to double check the size, but even if you can't run the raw model, you might be able to run a quantized version of the model and get decent results still.
Now, when you run this generation, and I might have missed this earlier, are you running them in parallel, or are you running one, and then when that's done, you're running the next, and that's done, running the next?
For me, because I just have that one GPU here, they're running in serial. So it'll run one, it loads in that model, it starts generating the results, so it puts them in a report here. And then, what was I going to say? So yeah, it doesn't in serial because I only have one GPU. But if you're on a cluster, like Flight manages like compute. So if you have multiple GPUs, this is kind of what Flight is made for, is like fanning out large sets of compute. I just don't have that large set of compute for my personal thing. And I wanted to use my DGX Spark. But it's made to do that where you could run this in parallel. So each one of these would be its own container, and you assign it a GPU. And you would say that in this like config for, so you have several other things in this config, but the actual flight task, you define your environment just with this like task here, and then you say what compute you wanted there. So you would say like, do I want CPUs? How much memory do I want? Do I want a GPU? And you could assign different specific GPUs if they're in your cluster. Like if you know it was going to run on T4, you could do that. But if you need an A100, you can do that as well. And then each one of these is designed to fan out and run in its own container with that assigned compute. But you need to have multiple GPUs, for example, for that to work. So I don't have that. So it's just running in serial. But if I was spending more money and had a cluster or running this in like a production cluster, I would want these to fan out and run in all parallel as much as I could. Trying interactions between two humans, kind of fun. Again, some of these are good. Like I really like this one, how much fire is going on in the kitchen. Is kind of fun to see. This was a really good test too. So a retro mid-century travel poster for Mars with the headline "Visit the Red Planet," and you can see a lot of them kind of struggle with the text in this case for sure. Even this Quinn image one that did the breeze design really good. It does do the text, but it's like it's got like "visit the planet" and "visit the red planet" kind of says it multiple times, but the text is there, and then a lot of them aren't quite right, or I don't know if this I don't know if it's a made up language or it's like a different language that it kind of inserted in there. This one says "viz the red planet," but it's pretty close. This one says "visit the red planet." I don't know. This looks kind of weird design in there, but again, fun to see which ones do text well or not. Internal architecture, again, some of these like really good, some look more kind of AI. This one's pretty good. Like this one's kind of good, maybe a little too clean. Again, you could also adjust this prompt though, and try to make it like look more realistic or dirty or whatever you're kind of going for. And the nice thing with like Flight 2 is all those runs are versions. So like if you are messing around with a prompt, you can go into like into the UI or you can also do this through an API programmatically and go pull and like click in and see exactly the versions of the prompts that you used, both as just like the input summary, like all that's captured here. And then for me, I'm using reports. So you could actually go like look at that and then look at the image. And then I want to test reflection in realism. So it's always an interesting test too. And actually, almost every single one of these models, even if the image doesn't look super good, it did a pretty good job in the reflection piece, which was surprising to me. So even if this one, doesn't look very realistic, it looks more artistic style, but it actually still does reflection in here. Some of these look really good, like this mountain and the lake. These look pretty good. I was surprised that a lot of them did reflection decently well. And then this is interesting too. So trying like a specific art style. Some of the models that do a really good job at realistic stuff aren't very good at art, like doing a specific simplified art style. Like this fox looks way too realistic, even though it still looks like an art style. But it like doesn't really look like what we're asking for. Like a lot of these other ones look more like the art that we're asking for. This is just kind of a scene in the street. A human with an animal. I want to test some interactions here, and kind of, again, some of them look weird, like this feet generation and the lambs. It's got like, I don't know if it's a 2-head lamb or two like scrunched together.
Did you just say human and an animal, and they all generated a lamb?
No. I wanted something like that. So like a farmer cradling a newborn. That would be interesting though, right? They all had that same training data or something. Again, some look very good. And then, there's some other scenes like interacting with pigeons. I thought this was funny too. Just it's a woman playing fetch with their golden retriever on the beach, and I don't know, decided to have her kind of like riding the dog, which I thought was kind of funny. Just kind of seeing how that works. And then this, I wanted to test. So some of the models actually have like negative prompts you can put in. This I didn't put in that specific negative prompt field, but trying some things like don't show human or people. So it's like a city street at dawn with absolutely no cars or people. And you'll see that a lot of the models still put cars in there. So they might be generating a good image. Like this Quinn one does a really good job, but it has a lot of cars. So they struggle with the no cars or people. You can see this one actually doesn't have any cars or people. So again, kind of interesting to see which ones do a good job there. Small red cube on top of a large blue sphere, a green pyramid to the left, plain studio background. Again, trying to see if it can figure out how to like put things together. And actually, again, not all these are great, but kind of impressed with the results, even if it doesn't look super good. Like the understanding of placement was kind of impressive on these. And then just testing material, I want to like reflective chrome. Some of these are phenomenal, like this Quinn image 2512. Again, just like a really cool job of this kind of pretty realistic looking a robot with this chrome material, and you see like reflections in there and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool. Some of them I thought were kind of more funny and decided to throw in a car.
The Terminator. What was the Terminator? What was the Terminator's name? What was his name?
What do you mean?
Didn't he have a name? Didn't the Terminator actually have a name?
Oh, I don't remember.
Looked like a Terminator.
He probably did get a name later. and there's the one that's like this kind of looks like the melty Terminator in Terminator 2. That is like the one that turns into silver and melts into different shapes. Fun to see. And then the last one I kind of did was this a splash of coffee frozen mid-air being poured into white cup, high-speed photography. And original Quinn images went kind of weird there, but a lot of these also kind of impressive. Just like some of these, again, super small, like and fast, like the Santa Sprint one. It's not perfect. Like there's weird artifacts and stuff in here. But overall, just testing out kind of like a wide sweep of these open source models, I came away pretty impressed with the results here. I don't know what you all think, like from what you've seen so far.
I'd be curious also to just have one more of a production, foundry model, like Gamma, like one Gamma 4 from each, and say, all right, does this one really stand out, or does it copy some of the same, have some of the same flaws?
Yeah. And I know, like, I mean, I didn't do it with these same prompts, and that'd be fun to look at. I didn't test the commercial ones against it right now, and a lot of them are very good. Like Nano Banana from Google's pretty good. ChatGPT's been pretty good from stuff I've used in the past, but I know it still has issues, or did last time I used it. Grok has one too. It's like Imagine or whatever. It does image generation that seems pretty good. There's Midjourney. Does Anthropic have a image generation? Actually, don't know if they do, or I don't know if I've seen it. But yeah, it would be fun to test against commercial. So if anyone wants to do that, or bring commercial models in for like the next one, we're going to do video generation. Again, I'm going to focus on trying to get some of the open source ones to work. But if you want to test it against, I forget what Google's VO, is it VO3, Google's latest one, and Grok or something like that, that would be kind of fun. Somebody asked, do these models have information with guides on how to prompt them? Perhaps some of them might perform better with another agent improving the prompt based on those guides if they exist. I don't know of a specific guide on prompting like per model. Some of them probably do, like in a blog post or their original paper, have some of the some of the prompts that they use in there. And then you're right, you can have an agent, improve this prompt. And I think if you're going to use these in like a production setting, like I actually wanted to make the best image possible, I would probably do something like that. And I would maybe even just run a sweep of different prompts. Like instead of comparing models here, I could just compare a whole bunch of prompts together and see which one looks the best. And then you could add that information to an agent or something that will always kind of add the stuff to your initial prompt and make it better looking. So that's a very good note or idea. And you'll notice that if you use a lot of the commercial ones, I don't know if they surface it anymore, but like, for example, in ChatGPT, they would redo your prompt. And that's a pretty common practice for a lot of things, like, because you just don't know if the customer is going to know how to prompt it well. So you put in a prompt and then it comes up with it overrides that prompt with a more robust one. And at least like a lot of the commercial image generation ones would do that. And that also might be why you get better results on them sometimes. So really good note. Poplo, I think I just see your username. So I think that's probably your name, inferring from your @username. A very good note. And then I did LoRA adapters too. So this is just using that Chroma HD model here. And then I use a public data set that was on Hugging Face that trains images to look like the tarot card drawings. I think this is right weight. That's a specific one. So there's a specific style of like tarot card drawings. And you can see that we're prompting the model to kind of look like that, or we say we want a tarot card drawing of it, and the original model doesn't do a good job. And then we have this LoRA one, and it does a good job of generating that specific art style that it was trained on. I think in the training report here, you can see this is kind of what the images look like that it's fine-tuned on. So you can see it does a pretty good job of mimicking that style. And we could probably chain it for more steps and stuff and maybe get even an improvement if it didn't look as good as we wanted. And I did another one too that was trained on like a yarn data set. So there's a specific like yarn style that again, it's just an open source data set on Hugging Face to try the LoRA fine tuning. And you can see this is the base model, no LoRA. So it is doing like kind of a yarn type style, but it looks maybe more like embroidery here a little bit. And this is like the style of the data set, these like 3D yarn types of things. So it did a really good job of mimicking the data set here, even though the base model does a decent job of maybe getting the results. But this has like a more specific kind of look to it, which is cool. So you can take these open source models. Again, depending on your use case, go check the licenses, what you can use them for, what terms you're accepting, if they're gated, but then you can fine tune them on your kind of specific data sets that you're collecting or these other open source data sets and start getting really good results on them. And that's kind of the project that I did here in our, was this our new compare run? Yeah, this one just finished with the prompts that we had done at the beginning, so we could do more prompts here in the last little bit of time. Unless, John, actually, did you have a project that you wanted to show? Sorry, I forgot to ask.
No, you're good. I did not have a project, so thanks.
Yeah, so we can see these are the results from what we prompted right at the beginning. The Santa Sprint one looks kind of funny. Again, the Santa Sprint is so fast though. Like it generated that in 1 second. So I don't know. I'm still impressed that it can do a generation in 1 second and get some cool results. you could tell that, it's prioritized for very fast generation, not the most realistic, but it's really cool what it can give you a lot of the times for how fast it does it. Like this one looks kind of, their faces look weird. Like it kind of struggles with human details, but this one, I think their arms on backwards.
Oh, yeah.
But it is the FIFA watch party in Seattle that we tried to generate there. So
that's why we lost.
Yeah, it's just kind of fun to see like what it comes up with, right? And we didn't do anything super specific, so trying to generate football team here. And I think this might have been trained in San Jose, so it might be biased with I don't know 49ers data or something. Any other, now that people have kind of seen this, is there any prompts that you want to try on any of those models?
What the prompt the chat folks to get creative here.
Yeah. Now that you've seen where they might succeed and struggle, let me know if there's any you want me to try kind of during the live stream. And somebody also asked, how would you use, someone said a tumor cell. Like, do you have a little bit more to give it, like a specific type or something like that? I assume like, and you could, if it works good, you use this for training data or something like that, for healthcare. I like to think that's the use case for this. Something outside of the Instagram. Oh yeah. So yeah, something outside that people probably aren't posting tumor cells on Instagram, but there are open source data sets for them. So yeah, I'd be interested to see if they get in there. Again, do you have anything more specific to throw in there, or just kind of want to see what happens? And we can add a couple more prompts, and I'll just, again, do those prompts in the models if people have ideas here. Someone asked, how would you use image generation evaluation with these models? I think that's hard, because I think a lot of the times you're going to want to look at the image. Like if you're asking how to automatically eval these, you can obviously fine tune models to look at images, and whether that's like object detection or some sort of quality threshold, I think you could do that. But I think a lot of times it's going to be hard without the human eye, from what I know of, unless you have another like VLM that you're going to trust to judge it, which I think you can use sometimes too. So if you have a VLM model and you want to say like, like it probably does a good job of looking at like specific things. So if you're saying, make sure the face looks good or has, all the elements of a human face or something like that, maybe it can do a good job to detect it. Because I've seen some VLM use cases for even like physical AI simulation where, again, it might give a good reward, but the actual thing isn't doing very good. And you can use a VLM to look at the output of making sure something's like actually walking instead of just like throwing itself forward. So there's probably something you can do there, but I think you're still, from what I've seen, I think VLMs are, somewhat limited on understanding, and I don't know if I would trust it a lot of the time. But there's probably some checks that you could add in there and help you. Like it's a signal, right? Like you could definitely do moderation is one that obviously people train models for. Like if you try to generate, if you had this as a tool and you don't want people generating certain types of images or celebrities or something like that, you obviously can train classifiers for that type of thing. So doing image classification on something, whether it's moderation or anything you can think of, I guess, for like a classifier, you could throw that in there and help with evals. But in terms of being like really fine quality, I don't know of something that's going to do probably a really good job yet with that. But if anyone else has something, let me know. Someone said birds from San Diego. Or was that a team? I'm not sure. All right. And then someone says I don't know if I can copy this text. Oh, wait, let me, you got a good description, so let me just grab it, but I think I have to go to YouTube to copy it, so give me 1 second. Yeah, okay, perfect. So we'll say a high resolution. We'll do birds from San Diego, but I'll spell it right. We can say realistic, I guess. Let's give it that. And then there's another cellular one. So I'll get this running. And I'll do it on the same model. Some of these, again, might take a little bit. So we'll see how fast they run, but I'll generate this, kick off a new generation job. And again, pulled from cache, all the models now already downloaded, and it's doing SDXL first. And as they generate, they'll show up in the report here. While this is happening too, the next one is going to be video generation. So I don't know if anyone has video generation models they've heard about that are open source that they want to take a look at. Let me know. I know LTX, I think, is one of the big ones right now. I assume it's this one. I believe that's just on Hugging Face. I haven't tried it yet, but I've seen some stuff about it being very good. And then what the other one is one, probably this, and it was one of them, 1.2.2. These are the top two on my radar that I'm going to check out. There might be other ones too, and again, the field changes all the time. Like I just saw that Kriya had one too. Kriya 2. I don't know if it's a good one though. So Kriya 2 Turbo is an image gen one that again I want to check out. I didn't get time to add it to my suite this week. But I saw they had a video gen model too, and I don't know if it's an older one or let's see, where's their models.
So here, if you provided a prompt, it'll make a video based on the prompt.
That's the idea. Or some of them will start with a image too. So my idea is like, I want to do image gen first, potentially have that as a starting point for some of these videos. And you can give it an input. And I haven't built my workflow yet. So, but this is what I've seen. It's like, you can start with an image and then you usually combine that with a prompt and then it will generate the video. Some of them don't need an image either. Like you could just do the full generation. But I think if you want specific results, what I've seen is it's good to start with an image because you can also kind of iterate over that image and then be like, okay, this is the style that I want. Now use that as a starting point and then, make this person walk down the road or this car, make it drive or something like that. So you give it a starting point. So I'm really curious. I haven't tried the open source ones yet. And I'll just be curious to see, if I can get it to work pretty good. So these examples are cool in the demo, but sometimes it's hard to actually get really good results. So hopefully I can go through kind of a suite like I did today. So if you have any models or specific prompts or something like that you're interested, let me know. Or again, join the Slack channel and I can try to share more like results as I go. Like I did share a little bit this week, just showing that I was starting that image generation. So I'll probably do that with videos. And then again, if you want to comment on them or like give guidance of what you'd want to see, I think that would be really fun. So SDXL, finished some of them. So here's a cell tumor. And also, if you work in the field, I guess you have to tell me how good this looks for these specific types of tumors that you're looking for. Cells. To me, I mean, it looks like other cell images I've seen when I've done some computer vision tasks around like detecting them. Obviously, I don't know anything like I actually work in the cellular medical field. So unless I have like annotations from other people, I can train models, but I don't know what I'm actually supposed to like annotate if I was doing this. So not a domain expert there. This looks like birds from a book, like an illustrated book, not realistic here. And again, SDXL is stable diffusions. It's not super old, but a little bit of an older model. They actually have a newer one that is another one I should add in here that I didn't this week either. But it is in the checkbox, actually. So if you did set this up and have an accelerator, the SD35 large, I think, does better results from stable diffusion. This one doesn't look as realistic to me, at least, cell-wise. But again, SDXL doesn't always do the best job for realism, I think. Let's see, Z image Turbo finished. I don't know. This looks weird, not probably realistic either, but Daniel, you let us know how this looks to you. This is a seagull, I guess. A bird from San Diego. I guess there would be a seagull there, right?
Great bokeh.
Oh, and yeah, Daniel said the cells, I think from this one, saying they look like they're from the right planet at least, but not the Z image Turbo one. This looks like maybe from a different planet. So I think this one too doesn't look like it's from our planet too. This must be from Project Hail Mary universe. Let's see, Santa's Sprint. Again, this is the really ultra fast one that isn't very realistic. This one doesn't look realistic to me either. This looks like a cool alien cell, I guess, as well. Birds, not realistic. This one looks scary. Looks like a D&D monster or something like that. It doesn't look like cells that I'd be looking for either. Quinn image, this one would probably take a little bit more to generate, a little bit more time to generate because it does the more realistic stuff, but that'll be fun to see how it does because it's doing it next. So anything else people kind of are curious about from the project I did this week? Any other comments or anything like that, just in the open source image generation space in general? As we have kind of the last 5-ish minutes, I can probably go a little bit over. I don't have a super hard stop, but where is the iconic hummingbird? I should have asked for it. Is that the iconic bird in San Diego? See, and as this generates, it should populate here. The image, the model's larger here, so it has to load in the model, right, and then do the image generation. So you can see logs here. It's actually still loading in the checkpoints here, and then it will do the generation, and then it has to spin down that container, unload, basically just get rid of that model, and then load the next one. And so it takes a little bit on these larger models. I know there's some tools I've heard about that help with like hot swapping models too. Would be interesting to look at. I haven't done that. And then, yeah, I mean, code-wise, again, you go check out the code. Again, this is using Flight Dev Box. It's defining the environments here, like I kind of already showed you. And then I have inside the compare pipeline, this is the pipeline code that loads in the models. There's actually a models.py that has the spec for each one that I define in there. So they are, live in different places, or repos on Hugging Face, and then I log which family there were. I had Claude pull this as I was looking at the repos. So like what license are they gated, steps to do. So again, these are the steps in the diffusion process to hopefully get to like a good image. Some other parameters you can add in for some of them, and then the compare pipeline uses Flight like we talked about. So this, you can see the downloading model is a CPU task, so we're not using the GPU when we're just downloading that model. It has a certain amount of retries too, so if it does fail, it'll retry it. Which I did have some of the downloads fail actually too, and so it was actually really helpful to have retries, and actually built another kind of little watchdog thing for as it's downloading. Like I was having models stall out for some reason on my internet. Maybe I was downloading too many giant models. But they would stall out, and if it stalled for a certain amount of time, it would kind of reignite the process, but start from what was already downloaded. So that was actually really nice to have as well. And I have our, basically this is our generation step, and then we have the pipeline. So if you want to check out the code, again, it's all in GitHub here for the project. But hopefully you thought this was interesting. I had a lot of fun building it. I thought it was really, really fun to mess around and test it out. So I'll wait around, see which images start coming out of here. But it's kind of the end of what I had to showcase here.
You did great. That was good. I liked all the examples.
Oh yeah, and Pablo, oh, thank you. And Pablo has a good point too. Well, there's image to image models, which I didn't get to, right? We just did kind of text to image here. But you have image to image where, you could take a picture of me and a picture of someone else dressed in different clothes, and then say, put this clothes on me or something like that. And there's a lot of really cool models, I think, that are good at that. And I think some of these might even be able to do that. I just didn't test them out from an image to image type of thing because I just didn't have time this week. But that would be another thing, is like, what other tasks can you do with image generation? Image to image is a big one. We'll also, again, I don't know if I'll have time for video generation, but you can do that with video gen too. Like, live capture me moving around, but have a generated person be doing the same movements. That's kind of crazy how good that looks sometimes for what I've seen with some of the models. So again, I haven't built anything like that with open source ones yet, but I'll be curious to see how they do. But again, if you want to try out those specific tasks and join the stream next week and show off what you built, that'd be awesome. So again, hopefully it's I know not everyone wants to do the project, but if you do, hopefully this is a fun kind of way to do where you could build something, talk about it. It doesn't need to be a super well polished thing either. Like you could literally take one model, try it out, and just talk about like what you found and show it off. That'd be really cool. But no pressure if you also just want to come and watch kind of what other people have built. Usually we have a few people who build the projects, but I guess it was just me this week, which is, I don't expect everyone to do it every week. Any other final thoughts or questions? I might have to drop off the call before this ends up actually generating stuff. I'll try to wait and get one out here. I think it's loaded in. So it is doing the first generation now. So we'll at least see the, we should at least see the cell. I think it takes like a minute and a half or 2 minutes on the Quinn image 2512 sometimes. But yeah, any other final thoughts or questions or thoughts on the next subjects, like video generation? Does it sound interesting? World models, if you actually have specific ones you want to add in, again, let me know. Some of the ones as I was looking them up, Dreamer 3 comes up a lot and seems like kind of a good intro to some of the world models. And I think then you can actually run this in some of the simulated environments. And that's kind of where we're actually building to, like a little bit on purpose here. All this generation stuff, physical AI simulation, and then world models where we can actually potentially use those models inside something like Mujoco or Isaac Sim. I'm excited to try that out. And then next week, video generation. Week after that, text to speech. So which ones have the best kind of natural voice? I noted voice cloning in here. I'm not sure if I'll actually get to trying that. Again, I'm going to try generation first, but maybe I'll try to clone my own voice or something as well. Music generation. There is a really good open source one I've used called A-Step that does almost as good of a job as maybe not the recent Suno model, which is commercial, but like the Suno 3.5 or whatever that was out earlier this year. The A-Step does a pretty good job last time I used it. And again, it's probably even updated now too, because that's been several months. But that's one I know I'm going to look at, and I'm probably going to take a look at some other ones. Google has one called Magenta that does kind of, I don't think it does lyrics, but it does kind of almost real-time music generation, which is interesting. So there'll be some fun stuff to look at. So again, other topics, let me know. Cosmos Models is NVIDIA's kind of brand for world models. They do some stuff around physical AI. So we'll take a look at that. Hopefully that should be pretty approachable too. I've looked at them. I haven't actually used them like in production for anything yet. And then VJEPA, which if you've been following anything with like Jan LeCun leaving Meta and talking about different types of models instead of large language models, JEPA is one of the versions that he's kind of, I believe, at least from what I read, one of the ones that he's like betting on to win out for some of the more complex AI tasks outside of large language models. I haven't really dived super deep into it yet, and that's kind of the point of these weekly things, is to, again, as a forcing function for me to go in and at least play around and get somewhat familiar with these topics, even if I'm not going to be an expert by the end of the week. If I can only spend a couple hours learning the topic, I feel like I learn a lot more than if I hadn't done that. So I'm kind of excited about these next ones coming up. Somebody said, how can you control what comes in the image? Generate one, but change a few things in there. Well, there's ones like image to image editing too. Like someone had mentioned, you could give it an image, and then like if you generate one, you could have that starting as an image and then give it to another model and say remove this or add this type of thing. That's like image editing, which might work for a use case. Or if you just want to control what gets generated, that's going to be more prompting. And some of the models also can take a negative prompt. So you say like, don't do this type of thing. And they have a specific field for it. So they might do a little bit of a better job for it. Otherwise, it's going to be probably prompt experimentation, unless you want to do something like the image to image editing afterwards. From what I know of anyway. But if anyone else has other better answers to that, put it in the chat as well. They also have a seed. So like you have like a starting seed that you put in there. If you change the seed, it's going to look like a different thing when you do generations again. So this might be something to play around with, but I think it's going to be more of the prompt piece. This realistic one, I don't know. These cells look scary to me. Again, not in the field. I almost feel like the original SDX cell one. This looks closer to the cells I see from like data sets that I've used for, you know, certain cell detection type of stuff. Is there a way to architect it? Architect what specifically? Like if you wanted to do a workflow, something you might do is generate an image like we're doing here, and then have this image pass to like another task, which could be like image editing or something like that. And you could have it automatically run like the image to image prompt, I think. And you could look at Comfy UI as well. Again, that's I haven't used it, but this is really popular for building image generation workflows and video generation workflows. So I haven't done this, but you get kind of this GUI that you can add in, like, you know, the models that you're loading in here. Any other hyperparameters, I believe you can just, you know, kind of put in as a box. This is you building out like a flow, prompts, etc. And you kind of can build out this workflow that you give it. I'm not doing this in the Comfy UI. I'm doing this basically in code and then having this flight workflow. For me, I'm just doing the image generation, but you could build out like a pipeline with a whole bunch of different steps if you wanted. But yeah, I'm not like an expert in kind of the video generation or image generation space. It's not something I do day to day, like with open source models, as a full-time job. So if someone else has like input, like you've worked in this field a lot, there's probably, you know, stuff you learn about controlling what comes in the image. You get really good at prompting, or you have that kind of image to image workflow going on. All right, I'm gonna have to wrap up the stream here in a minute, but I'll leave it up for anything else, any other final questions or thoughts that people have. Someone said, have you seen tests in which people check some of those models with the same prompt several times in a row to check how much the consistent quality is? What I've noticed just from my thing, so again, not being a full expert in this, is that if you give it a prompt, like the exact same prompt, if you change it slightly, it's going to change. But if you give it the same prompt with the same seed here, which again, this basically is like the starting noise, and then the diffusion models remove that noise in a certain way and then generate the image. So if you don't change the seed and you give it literally the exact same prompt, if you change it again one word, it's probably going to change it, but it'll actually generate basically the same image. And I can actually show you from some of my previous runs. So I have this is the compare that we were looking at, and if I show you this, you know, Santa Sprint one or this Z Turbo one, right? This is what they look like. And then if I go and pull up another one from before, so this is let me just make sure this is a different compare run from that I did previously with less models in it, but you'll see that these actually look pretty much exactly like the other ones. Actually, let me pull up. See, this is Chroma HD. Let me pull up the Chroma HD one. So pretty like exactly the same, I think, right? It went through the same amount of denoising steps. It started with the same noise there, and it basically did the same thing. So I don't know if this is always true, but for all the models I use today, with the same seed and literally the exact same prompt, it was giving me the same result. I don't know if video generation is the same. My hunch is it's going to be a little more complex, and it has different steps it takes versus just denoising an image. So I don't know if from what I've seen, very consistent quality with the same seed and literally exact same prompt. I'm gonna wrap up the stream. I see a lot of other people dropping off too. So again, I had a lot of fun. Hopefully you had a lot of fun seeing seeing the image generation. I'm excited to see what video generation looks like, and hopefully some of you will join me in that journey and try to build something as well. Again, just one more thing, or one more call to action. If you want to join the Slack channel, do so there. And there's the channel ML, I think it's ML and AI. That's kind of where I'm posting the stuff from the weekly streams. So it'd be cool to see you in there. Cool to see projects you're building or questions about the next one. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap up the stream. This was really fun. Thank you everyone also for just talking in the chat and having really good questions and giving me prompts to try in the different models. See, did this generate any yet? We got one. Yeah, so far I'm kind of surprised as XDL. It's almost the most realistic one for a cell anyway. All right, gonna end the stream. Thank you everyone. I'll hopefully talk to you later.